Continuation. They smashed windows, burned schoolbooks, and teased the poor little donkeys. Pinocchio made friends with the very worst of the boys, a young bully called Lampwick, and he was always in the middle of mischief. One day, down in Tobacco Lane, Jiminy came upon Pinocchio puffing on a corncob pipe. Lampwick had a big cigar. Jiminy lost his temper and shook his little fist angrily. "This has gone far enough," he shouted. "Throw away that pipe. Come home this minute." Pinocchio looked sheepish, but Lampwick began to snicker. "Don't tell me you're scared of a little beetle," he said insultingly. The puppet hesitated a minute. Then he said quickly, "Gosh, no, Lampwick, that's only Jiminy. He can't tell me anything." And right in Jiminy's face he blew a puff of smoke. Jiminy was about to march off angrily when suddenly Lampwick grabbed his head and Pinocchio groaned, "Jiminy, my ears buzz." Before Jiminy's shocked eyes, the boys were sprouting donkey ears. "It's donkey fever," whispered Jiminy, horrified. "You were lazy, good-for-nothing boys, so you turned into donkeys. Let's get out of here." This time no one argued with the cricket. As fast as they could, they dashed through the strangely deserted streets. As they rounded a corner, they came face to face with the coachman. He and armed guards were herding a bunch of braying, howling donkeys, many of which still wore boys' hats and shoes. "There they go. That's the two that's missing," yelled the coachman. "After them!" Bullets whizzed past them as they rushed toward the wall surrounding the island. Pinocchio and Jiminy managed to clamber up, but when they looked down, they saw a little donkey in Lampwick's clothes. It was Lampwick. "Go on, Pinocchio," he cried. "It's all up with me." There was nothing they could do. With a lump in his throat, Pinocchio followed Jiminy and dove into the sea. They had a long, hard swim to the mainland, and a longer, harder journey home. It was winter when they came to the village. Through the drifting snow they hurried to Geppetto's door and pounded on it. The only answer was the howling of the wintry wind. Worried, Pinocchio peered into the window. The house was empty. "My father's gone away," said Pinocchio, and a tear ran down his long nose and froze into a tiny sparkling icicle. Just then a gust of wind blew a piece of paper around the corner. "Hey, Pinocchio," Jiminy exclaimed. "It's a letter." The little cricket began to read the note aloud. "Dear Pinocchio, I heard you had gone to Pleasure Island, so Figaro, Cleo, and I started off in a small boat to find you. Just as we came in sight of the island, out of the sea rose Monstro, the giant whale. He opened his jaws, and in we went. Now, dear son, we are living in the belly of a whale, but there is very little to eat here, and we cannot exist much longer. So I fear you will never see your loving father. You will never again see your loving father, Geppetto." For a while, both Jiminy and Pinocchio were silent, too heavy-hearted to speak. Then Pinocchio said in a resolute voice that Jiminy had never heard him use before, "I am going to save my father." But Pinocchio cried, "Jiminy, think how far it is to the ocean." "I don't mind," Pinocchio said firmly. "I must find father." Just then a soft voice said, "I will take you." And out of the sky fluttered a small white dove with a golden crown on its head. Pinocchio stared. "You?" he asked. "How could you carry us?" "Like this," and the dove began to grow and grow. "Climb on," she commanded, and spread her wings, flew off All day and all night they flew until they reached the high cliffs of the seashore. They landed. "Goodbye," called the dove. "Good luck," and she flew away. They did not know she was their own blue fairy in disguise, and that it was she who had brought them Geppetto's letter. When the dove was out of sight, Pinocchio tied a big stone to his donkey tail. He smiled bravely at Jiminy. Together they leapt off the cliff into the roaring ocean below. Down, down, down they went, through the green water, past clumps of waving seaweed. As soon as they reached the sandy bottom, Pinocchio scrambled to his feet. "Come on," he said, "let's find Monstro." He started off, peering into every grotto and green sea cave. "We'll never find him," muttered Jiminy. "We're probably looking in the wrong ocean, Jiminy." Jiminy was wrong. Very near them floated the whale they were looking for, fast asleep. Inside the whale, at the far end of his mouth, dark cavern, Geppetto had set up a strange household. He had salvaged a rude home from ships the whale had swallowed, and every day he fished in the whale's mouth. But now that Monstro was sleeping, no fish came in. "Not a bite for days, Figaro," Geppetto said mournfully. "If Monstro doesn't wake soon, we'll starve." It was a solemn moment, and all felt the end was near. And then the whale moved. Monstro gave an upward lunge, and through his jaw rushed a wall of black water. With it came fish, a whole school of tuna. Nearby, Pinocchio saw the creatures fleeing, had a glimpse of Monstro coming at him. Then he too was sucked down the huge maw. Only Jiminy was left outside, bobbing up and down an empty bottle. He begged to be swallowed too, but Monstro just went back to sleep. Meanwhile, Geppetto was pulling fish after fish out of the water. "Food!" he yelled. "Oh, Figaro, Cleo, we are saved!" He was so busy he scarcely heard a shrill cry of "Father!" "Pinocchio?" he asked wonderingly, and turned around. "Oh, my own dear son!" he exclaimed. "Is it really you?" With tears in his eyes, the old man embraced Pinocchio, but when he lovingly took off his son's hat, out popped the hated donkey ears. Pinocchio turned his face away in shame. "I've got a tail too," he admitted sadly. "Oh, father." "Never mind, son," Geppetto said comfortably. "The main thing is that we're all together again, and that we get out of here." Pinocchio added, "We never will. I've tried everything, even built a raft." "That's it," cried Pinocchio. "When Monstro opens his mouth, we'll float out on the raft." "Oh, no," argued Geppetto. "When Monstro opens his mouth, everything comes in, nothing comes out." "Yes," said Pinocchio thoughtfully, "if he swallows, but not if he sneezes." "Quick, father, help me build a fire." Before Geppetto knew what he was doing, Pinocchio set a fire to a pile of chairs and crates he had quickly tossed together. As the fire began to smoke, they got the raft ready. The whale began to grunt. Suddenly he drew in his breath and gave a monstrous sneeze. But out went the raft, past those crushing jaws into the open sea. But they were not free yet. The angry whale saw them and plunged after them. With one blow he splintered their frail craft. Geppetto felt himself sinking. "My son, save yourself," he cried. But the brave puppet swam to him and kept him afloat. Giant waves swept them toward dark rocks looming against the shore. Just as they were about to be crushed against the rocks, they were washed through a tiny crevice into a lagoon. In vain did Monstro hurl his bulk against the other side. His prey had escaped. Geppetto lay on the beach, gratitude filling his heart, and then he saw Pinocchio laying beside him, still cold and pale. fish bowl floated up. To the edge of the bowl clung a bedraggled kitten. Beside it, bobbed Jiminy Cricket in his bottle. But neither Cleo, Figaro, nor Jiminy could comfort the heartbroken man as he wept bitterly, sure his wooden boy was dead. The old man gathered Pinocchio into his arms and started home. When he searched his cottage, he sank down and prayed. Suddenly, a ray of starlight pierced the gloom, and a soft voice said, as it has said once before, and some day, when you have proven yourself brave, truthful, and unselfish, you shall be a real boy. Pinocchio stirred and sat up. He looked at himself and felt his arms and legs. Then he knew. "Father," he cried joyfully. "Father, look at me." The blue fairy's promise had come true. Pinocchio was no longer a puppet. Pinocchio was a real live flesh and blood boy. The end. Okay, I am sorry for having to continue this video 3 times over, but anyways, let's talk about some pros and cons of the book Pinocchio. Obviously, the book was a little longer and a little more in-depth than the other books I've read. Also, I'm not sure if I was okay with the whole Pinocchio smoking the tobacco part, but I mean, that would be okay if a parent was there to explain to their child. But again, I look forward to reading and seeing all your comments, advice, suggestions. Thanks for watching.